histories of both civil rights and sports, Jackie Robinson is certainly among the most well-known and most influential of figures. As an icon for equal rights and as the first black Major League Baseball player of the 20th century, he will go down in history as one of the civil rights movement's finest contributors. There was one man who worked tirelessly to ensure Robinson could accomplish this, a man whose bold personality and outstanding abilities to lead never went unnoticed by anyone he crossed paths with. This man's name was Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey took a stand against racism by signing Jackie Robinson to the Brooklyn Dodgers. Because of Rickey's bold decision, Robinson had the chance to showcase his talent, which led to the signing of even more non-white athletes, affecting not only equality in sports, but also in the civil rights movement. Wesley Branch Rickey was born in southern Ohio in 1881 to Emily and Jacob Franklin Rickey. As he grew up, he was taught to have a strong sense of morality and to be faithful to his religion. When Rickey was 19 years old, he began attending and playing baseball and football for Ohio Wesleyan University. In 1904, he graduated from the university and was picked up by the Dallas baseball team in the Texas League, and by the end of the season he went to the Cincinnati Reds, who soon dropped him from the team due to his refusal to play ball on Sundays. He went on to play for the New York Highlanders, known today as the Yankees, for a short period of time until he was finally dropped from the team. After the disappointing end to his playing career, Rickey decided to return to school to study law. However, even after graduating from the University of Michigan Law School in 1911, baseball continued to call out to him, so he began to look for a new way to incorporate it back into his life. Rickey became the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals and eventually worked his way up to the position of vice president of the team. At this point in Rickey's career, he began to show an interest in incorporating new and innovative technology into baseball, such as the pitching machine and the electronic umpire, as well as simple inventions that would improve the practice of the game, such as the batting helmet and the batting cage. It was also at this point that Rickey constructed the modern farm system. This system, still in use today, allows major league coaches and managers to sign minor league players and condition them for the major leagues, and brought in lots of profit for the Cardinals. Things were finally beginning to look up for Branch Rickey. Rickey, however, still saw a problem before him. Although Branch believed in equality for all, it was still a common belief that skin color was a determining factor in deciding which rights one had. Branch Rickey started realizing there was a problem when he was coaching at Ohio Wesleyan University. The team was out of town for a game and had to stay in a hotel, but they were told that one of the players wasn't allowed to stay in the hotel because of the color of his skin. Rickey finally convinced the clerk to let the boy stay in his room, and when inside the room, he began to pull on his fingers trying to take off the color, mumbling to himself that if it weren't for the color of his skin, he would be just as good as the rest of the team. The utter injustice of segregation was always on my mind, Branch Rickey said in an interview in 1956. This experience stuck with Rickey for the rest of his life, and the beliefs about equality that his parents passed down to him only got stronger as he went further into his career. Branch Rickey saw an opportunity in baseball that wasn't present anywhere else. He decided to integrate baseball in the hopes that the integration would inspire people to accept people of all skin colors and try to make a difference in other parts of society. Before he could begin the process of desegregating the great American pastime, he had to get his plan approved, so he took it to George McLaughlin, president of the Brooklyn Trust Company. After McLaughlin agreed to Rickey's plan because he believed it would be good for business, Rickey took his idea to the Brooklyn Dodgers board of directors and, after his idea was unanimously approved, he began his search for talented men of color who could be valuable to his plan. As he began scouting in the Negro League, he wanted to make sure he chose someone who not only had great talent on the field, but also had great integrity and character. Rickey wanted a man who could not only play a great game of ball and offer a challenge, but could keep a level head while face-to-face with discrimination. He found this player playing for the Negro League Kansas City Monarchs. After seeing a young, talented Jackie Robinson playing ball, Branch Rickey arranged for a meeting with him. Robinson then traveled to Brooklyn, where Rickey interviewed him and gave him several scenarios of prejudice and confrontation to determine whether or not Robinson was the type of man he was looking for. Near the end of the interview, Robinson asked Rickey if he wanted a man who was too afraid to fight back. Rickey replied simply that he wanted a man who had the guts to not fight back, and on that day, Robinson agreed to be part of Rickey's plan. On October 23rd of the same year, Jackie Robinson signed a contract to play for the Montreal Royals of the International League. On April 10, 1947, the Brooklyn Dodgers announced the purchase of his contract, and on April 15th, Jackie Robinson played his first game as the first African-American Major League Baseball player. Although there were several bumps in the road to success, Jackie Robinson's incredible talent as a player and immeasurable character as a person soon caused him to gain popularity with both the public and with other players. Even the most prejudiced of Robinson's teammates were won over by him and began to respect and defend him. After putting aside their bias, many team coaches and managers began to accept that great talent and potential existed beyond the white-only baseball teams. Only 3 short years after Robinson's debut, every Major League Baseball team had signed or were preparing to sign non-white players. People began to focus on the talent and strategy a player possessed rather than their skin color. The signing of Jackie Robinson was one of the first events in the civil rights movement to cause real change. It took place 3 years before the integration of the armed forces, 9 years before the Supreme Court's Brown versus the Board of Education, and a decade before the Montgomery bus boycott. It brought hope and inspiration to many African Americans as well as white equal rights activists. The friendship between Robinson and Rickey lasted even past Rickey's departure from the Dodgers, but the length of this friendship pales in comparison to the length and impact of Branch Rickey's legacy. Because baseball has been a popular source of entertainment in the U.S. for well over a century, it was the perfect way to spread the message about equality with Jackie Robinson as its representative. By showing the world that a black man could be just as talented or even more talented than a white man while still possessing outstanding character, more colored athletes were given the chance to prove themselves. As more African American athletes gained respect, others gained the courage to stand up for their own rights. This became a cycle, producing civil rights activists such as the famous Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, who would go on to inspire even more people, and so on. Jackie Robinson helped to serve as the human embodiment of Branch Rickey's legacy and everything he stood for, while standing up for his own rights as a person. Branch Rickey is not only responsible for several innovations in baseball, but is also the man who took a stand against racism and sparked a revolution in the civil rights movement that would lead to equal rights for people of all races. His contribution to society is immeasurable, and his legacy has only grown over time. Thanks to the vision of Branch Rickey, people like Jackie Robinson had the chance to contribute to a cause that would lead to an integrated future.